Hey there, beautiful people. It's Dana, bringing another daily dose. Yesterday, I did a video about what we need to let go of if we are trying to reach that best version of ourselves that God has called us to be. There was a lot of things that we need to maybe reevaluate, or things that no longer serve us, relationships, mindsets, ways of being that we needed to let go of so that we could actually pursue being the very best version of ourselves. And now this is not in the world of like personal development where we hustle and we do all these things and work harder. And in the world of business, you'll see that a lot. I've taken many courses in the business world and in personal development, and all of them were empty when it came to really understanding how to know who you truly are and how to know really the way God created you and called you to be. It's not what you think it is when it comes to finding that in yourself. Okay, so everything I bring to you comes from a biblical perspective. It comes from my experiences, and it's never going to be about striving and doing more and going after that thing that is going to just make you wealthy or be the best version the way the world sees it. There's a lot of people out there supporting that message, and that is not something that I believe in. I definitely believe that God has called us to live an abundant life, and I will be doing a message on that. And I believe that He has given us the ability to create wealth. Deuteronomy 8:18 says that I have given you the ability to create wealth. I don't think there's anything wrong with being wealthy or anything wrong with being successful or even having that abundant life. Really not what I'm talking about when I say be the best version of yourself. It has nothing to do with what you own, what you do in your career, or how much accolades or influence that you have. Being the best version of yourself is becoming like Christ, is becoming more and more like the one who created you. That's becoming the best version, because I believe that when we are operating in our true God-given identity, then we can actually do the thing that God has called us to do in this world. And it's always going to be good. It's always going to be to build up His people. It's always going to be to make the world a better place. When you are operating in that, not only does it make the world a better place, but you now know and understand your true authority under heaven that has been given to you to come against the real enemy that is out to try to kill and steal and destroy our families and this world. You've got to come from that foundation. So when I talk about personal development or being the best version of yourself, that's the foundation. So the part 2 of this, of what do we let go of, that I want to share with you is what are we saying yes to that we need to not be doing? So there might be seasons that you had to say yes to something. Maybe you were in a class. There were a lot of seasons where I was, leadership classes or online school or whatever that might have been. And I spent a lot of time building that part of me. There were times that I was volunteering at church, and I spent a lot of time doing that. There were times when we were running our youth outreach that I said yes to everything. It seemed like every little event and big thing that we did, I would say yes to, even at the expense of my own well-being and our family. We would just say yes because our hearts were in the right place. We really did want to create this amazing youth outreach in our community. But that came with a lot of responsibility and a lot of things that we had to do. So we may not have had to say yes to everything, but we did because we weren't really, I don't want to say we weren't truly partnering with God, even though God allowed us to do what we did. And He still helped, I would say, hundreds and hundreds of teens. We weren't always partnering with Him in everything that we did. So if I were to do that again, not only am I a different human being today, how I would operate that, but I would certainly partner with God in doing that. So there's a lot of times we'll say yes to something that God has never asked us to say yes to. There were so many things that I thought was a godly thing or was something that was within God's will. And it might have been. It might have been something that God, it's okay and it lines up with Scripture and all of that. We're not doing something that is deceitful or out in the world. It doesn't mean that it's the right timing. It doesn't mean that God even asked you to do that. So what are you doing in your life that God has not asked you to do, but you think it's good? What if it's a career? What if it's a group that you're a part of? Here's the other thing. What if you're a part of a group and it served its purpose and you are still hanging on to that and it no longer is serving the purpose and God can't move you to the next level because you're still hanging on to that because, you can't break free from that. I don't know what it is for you. I've had all those scenarios. What are you saying yes to for your family? What are you saying yes to in your day-to-day life? Are you spending a lot of time doing all the tasks and chores at the expense of spending time alone with God? Are you one of those people like me that gets up and we start cleaning the house and doing all the mom things and the wife things? And a lot of times my morning time gets taken away. I'm a morning person and I get up and I start going right away. I don't need 10 cups of coffee and an hour to wake up. I usually am up and ready to go. Okay, but I'm not a night person. I like to go to bed early, and my body just kind of shuts down. I always just say if I lived alone, I'd probably go to bed at 7 o'clock because that's about when my body gets tired. But I also wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock naturally. So I'm more productive in the morning. But that can also be a detriment because my more productive time in the morning means I want to get going and start moving and doing things, preparing for the day, even if it's coming up to my office to create content or checking my channel or social media or whatever, just making sure I'm getting back with people that message me. And I'm doing it before spending time alone with God. I'm doing it before my time in worship. And I have shared before, when I do that, it affects me. It affects my mood. It affects my well-being. I find that I seem to be more under spiritual attack because my guard is down. I haven't taken that time to pray over my situation or pray over my family or pray over whatever. I just kind of get into the day and I get kind of complacent and I start doing that. So if you can relate to that, it may be because you're saying yes to too many things in the morning. So it doesn't always have to be saying yes to someone else. It could be saying yes to your things that you think are more important. Where's our priorities? And are we putting that in the right order, the way God wants us to do that? Now, again, this is because we are intentionally living. If you are a specially empowered mom and then you're following me, you've followed me for any length of time, you know that everything I share on this channel is to help you to be that empowered mom. To be a mom that can actually walk through the most difficult days and the most challenging circumstances, raising a special needs child or an extreme situation, or even walking through difficult seasons in your marriage or health or finances without losing peace or joy, thriving in all of that, no matter what is going on, no matter what God chooses to take out or put in, you don't falter in that. It doesn't take you out. That's what a specially empowered mom is. She knows her worth. She knows how to take her authority. But that is an intentional way of living. You've got to constantly be spending time alone with God. You've got to constantly be renewing your mind. You've got to remember who you are, because the enemy will do everything that he can to get you to forget who you are. And I guarantee you, if you're doing something good, even if it is just for your family, he's going to come in and disrupt that, because he doesn't want you to win. He doesn't want you to feel well and whole and thriving. He wants you to be burnt out and stressed out and just striving through your life. So this is intentional living. This is intentional seeking out what God has for you each day and partnering with him in your role as a mom and as a wife, and honestly just in anything that he calls you to do. That's what this is about and why I bring all of this on there, because I didn't have this. And if I would have found a channel like this, it would have probably helped me through a lot of dark seasons that honestly I got to the point where I just wanted to end my life. I wasn't pouring into myself. I wasn't listening to people that were where I wanted to be. I was just so consumed with the negativity in my life and trying to hide it behind this mask because I had this role of being this, big youth leader in the community. And how dare I complain about my life when there's kids that I was working with that were, had so much trauma that they were walking through and hard lives that I had no business complaining about mine. So I would just shove it down and hide it and do more and say yes to everything and try to please everybody. And it almost destroyed me and my marriage and our family. So everything comes from that place of God healing that. And if he can do it for me, he can do it for you. I don't know what you're walking through right now, but if there's something that you are saying yes to that is preventing you from experiencing all that God has for you, it's time to say no to it. It might honestly just be some social time, maybe time with your friends, whatever. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but if you're spending more time socializing, more time serving at church, more time saying yes to everybody else, and less time to your own growth, your own inner healing, your own transformation, then it's time to say no to that. God can't work when we keep scheduling things in front of what he wants to do. So the first thing was letting go of things that no longer serve you, those limiting beliefs, those mindsets, those habits, even emotions, anger, fear, bitterness, offense. And now we want to look at, what do I let go of, or do I need to stop saying yes to? I just can't do that in this season. And honestly, there's seasons in our life where your house can't always be clean. If you're building a business and you're an entrepreneur, even a content creator, your house can't always be clean. You can't do everything. Although I believe that women were created to do a lot of things, there really is no such thing as multitasking. There's a lot of people say, I can multitask. No, you really can't. You're doing a lot of things at a lower level than if you were to be focusing on one thing fully and actually immersing yourself in that and being an expert at that. So you might be able to have that baby on your hip and cook dinner and fold laundry and do all the things that we think we're multitasking, but there's something that's getting missed. And most of the time for a woman or a mom, it's her own well-being. It's her own health. It's her own spiritual health, physical health, even her relational health. You just cannot do it all. But there are seasons that God might ask you to do more of that, more serving your family. There might be seasons where he says, let go of that because I want to go build something in you. I want to be able to do something because I've called you out into the world to be a leader. I don't know what that is for you. I know that's what he's called me to do. And so there was a season in my life where all I did was serve my family. After we closed our youth outreach, that's kind of all I did was just be a stay-at-home mom and serve my family. But I knew that there was something deeper inside of me that was just gnawing at me, and I was longing to do more. So now I'm doing this, and I'm building Specially Empowered Moms, but I am still a wife, I'm still a mom, and I still have a house to clean and all that kind of stuff. But I try to do my best to balance it out. If I try to do everything I did when I wasn't working and everything that I was doing while I'm working and blend it, it would just be a hot mess. I'm just telling you, it would be a hot mess. So you got to know and have discernment about what is it that I'm supposed to be focusing on right now, and what do I need to let go of? What do I need to stop saying yes to that I've been saying yes to that is actually preventing me from fully stepping into the life that God has called me to? So that's really what I want to share with you. Again, back to that step of self-awareness and taking inventory. It's one of the very first steps that I talk about in my coaching program about transforming you from a place of despair to being a specially empowered mom. You've got to take inventory. It starts there. You have to know where your starting point is before you can even start to move forward. And ultimately, you're going to have to know your destination too, which is something that I share as well. So anyway, I hope this encourages you, and I hope that my story will inspire others that God can do a radical transformation even in the worst situations. And that's what I always felt like I was the worst situation. And he's good, and he has a plan for your life, and he loves you. I promise you, he loves you, and it's going to be okay. And I love you, and I can't wait for us to be back together again. So have an awesome day, and say no to some things that you've been saying yes to so you can find your peace and joy again. See you next time. Bye.